It is 7:33, and we have 4 members present, which is a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes of June 6, 2011.
Move approval. Second.
Is there any discussion, comments, alterations? Are there? Those in favor of approving?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are moved. Items for consideration. First is the Township of Evanston monthly bills.
Move approval.
A second?
Second.
Are there comments? No, hearing no comments, move approval of the monthly bills.
You did.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item H2, Ordinance 52-011, amending certain provisions of the Title 9, Chapter 4 of the Evanston Municipal Code entitled Dog, Cats, Animals, and Fowl. I believe we have one speaker I know that would like to address this. Mr. Okawa, are you here to address the same? Okay, great. We can have you both speak? No? Or okay.
Good evening. My name is Tom Okawara. That's O-K-A-W-A-R-A. I'm a resident of Evanston, 1517 Kirk Street, for the past 20 years. My experience with the dangerous dog ordinance occurred last October when my dog was attacked by a neighbor's pit bull who was unleashed and proceeded to attack my dog while my wife was walking it. There was no serious injury. I did have a vet bill for my dog. I found out through the neighbors that the same dog had attacked another neighbor's dog, a big German Shepherd, in March of 2010, just a few months before. And according to that attack, there were serious injuries to both dogs, including my neighbors. So I contacted the animal warden and tried to invoke the dangerous dog ordinance. As you know, the dangerous dog ordinance 9-4-14 says that any dog that has a tendency to attack unprovoked and to cause injury to any human or domestic animals. This neighborhood pit bull had caused damage twice, which I believe has established a tendency. Regardless, the animal control warden refused to declare this dog as dangerous, so I submitted numerous Freedom of Information Act through the city, and I found out that since the dangerous dog ordinance was revised in 2006, there has been over 170 reports of dog bites reported to the city, and not a single dog has been declared dangerous. Further, I found out that the city does not maintain records on dog attacks. Therefore, it's really not enforcing the dangerous dog ordinance. Therefore, based on that, I am strongly supporting Alderman Burris's resolution to strengthen the dangerous dog ordinance as it stands now.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Hi, I'm Alderman Colleen Burris. I live at 647 Custer. I'm here to encourage you to vote in approval of the revised dangerous dog ordinance. Not only have residents come forward through email and personal visits, I've also had 2 personal incidents with dangerous dog attack 2 years ago. My dog was actually attacked. I have At the time, she was a 12-year-old, very docile animal. My son was walked her up on the porch, was ready to go inside the house. And a woman coming down the street with 2 pit bulls on retractable leashes lost control of one of them, ran up on my porch, started attacking my dog at her neck. My son, trying to protect his dog, put his hands in, of course not the smartest thing to do, but he was put his hands in to get the dog off of our dog. The dog wouldn't let up. The owner had no control over the situation. My dog ended up going to the 911 emergency hospital. I too had an issue with the animal warden doing basically nothing. I filed a report, went to the police station, and had no satisfactory response from the animal warden. That woman with the pit bulls continued to walk in front of my house. I requested they didn't. I requested that something be done with these dogs. Absolutely nothing's done. And then about 6 weeks ago, I was actually walking from my home down Custer to meet the city manager for breakfast. And a dog off leash, no collar, was running around chasing and trying to bite me as I was walking down the street. Of course, I had, a briefcase with me, so I was trying to hit the dog to get it to go away, yelling. No one came out. This dog was just randomly running around. I'm sure that I'm not the first person that this dog attacked in 8 o'clock in the morning. So I know that we have, a lot of dog lovers, a lot of pet lovers. I've had dogs growing up my entire life, but we need to protect the dogs that are well-trained and behaved, and we need to protect the children. We need to protect residents from these dogs that are dangerous, these dogs that it recurs over and over again. We've also had residents talk about the retractable leash issue. People can't control their dogs on those retractable leashes. It becomes a serious issue. So hopefully you will look in favor of strengthening our ordinance and looking at procedures through our police department and the animal warden to make this issue go away. Thank you.
Is there anyone else out there that didn't sign up but would like to speak to an agenda item during the citizen comment? That being so, we should, I would this time move to introduce ordinance 52011. I don't think I actually introduced it or asked for a motion before, correct?
Yes, you did.
No, I did not. Do I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Questions? Alderman Fisk.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your testimony. I'm sorry that happened to you. It seems to me that what I'm hearing you say is not so much a problem with the ordinance as a problem with enforcement of the ordinance. And I'm wondering, Chief, if there's any way to confirm the number of dog bite cases that have been reported?
Mr. Chairman, Alderman, members on the dais, we can certainly confirm the number of dog bite cases. I believe the numerous Freedom of Information Acts we've tried to answer on this topic contains that information, and we can certainly provide members of the committee with that. However, all dog bites don't have anything to do with this. I mean, we handle a number of dog bites where people are bitten by their own dog. A family member is bitten by their own dog and doesn't fall into this category. So to that degree, we're perhaps mixing topics. On the issue of enforcement, looking at the recommended changes, I believe this will be more direct and put more burden on the owner of the animal than on the city to provide these services. So I think the change in the ordinance allows more aggressive enforcement on these matters than the current language allows.
Okay, and how would you see, in terms of when someone calls the police department and reports a dog who's off leash and seems to be behaving in a strange way, or a dog who is reported as having gotten off a leash and attacked. I mean, what normally is the response from the police department?
Well, it'll go through the service desk. We'll dispatch one of the animal wardens if they're on duty. If they're not on duty, a police officer will respond and evaluate the situation. And once again, we handle a number of these calls. I appreciate they're not always rectified to everyone's satisfaction. However, we work through it, see what both sides of the stories are, and try to come to a reasonable alternative. I think that in the email correspondence we had today, I think the one dog that was declared dangerous in the last 12 months, the owners of the dog responded appropriately, showed the documentations, got the upgraded license, had the appropriate insurance. And so that part of the system works when we have cooperation of the dog owners.
Mm-hmm. And that was one dangerous dog, or so, one dog determined to be a dangerous dog in the past 12 months?
Yes.
In the past 3 years, what would your guess be? Is it about one a year, or not that many?
Approximately. I mean,
Okay.
and once again, we can get you that specific information.
Mm-hmm.
My recollection of these cases is they are somewhat infrequent.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me what happens when you respond to a dangerous dog, or a dog that's presumed to be dangerous, how do you determine that that's a dangerous dog? How does it get the label dangerous dog?
I think in a review of the current ordinance and its proposal, we outsource that to an animal expert, whether it's an animal behaviorist or something else. And once again, we're dealing with complex relationships between people and their pets. Mm-hmm. And so we're giving it to someone who is not going to deal with the incident that brought this to our attention. We want the dog evaluated by an outside expert, and we take that recommendation and label or not label the dog as such.
Mm-hmm. And is there any counseling that's given to the dog owners about proper training or behavior or control of their animals?
We're better at the control part, and frankly, the animal wardens have followed up on these dog complaints and coached the owners in what works and what doesn't work. I appreciate Alderman Burr's comment about retractable leashes. I've owned large dogs. That's not a good idea. But until somebody tells you it's not a good idea, if you're an uneducated animal owner, that it seems like a good idea when you're buying it in the store. So that does occur from our animal wardens, coaching people along, and also with the, if a dog is deemed dangerous, there's a significant additional rules that kick in that the animal wardens respond and talk with the owner and let them know what they have to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, my thinking is that we have educational programs for people who get moving violations or have other problems in their lives. I mean, I would certainly support an educational program for people who have problem animals. Designating a dog as a dangerous dog is fairly serious. I mean, obviously you can read from the ordinance already that it does require you to meet some standards that are beyond just basic dog ownership. My feeling at this time is that the ordinance that we have is working. Perhaps the response to it needs to be improved. I talked to this committee sometime last year when we were talking about both the feral cat problem in northwest Evanston and the chickens, that we probably needed to revisit that part of our city code that dealt with animals. That all dates from around 1979. A lot has changed. And I've done a little bit of research on what other municipalities do with state-of-the-art animal ordinances. So I guess what I'd recommend the committee, and with all due respect to everyone who has put time in on this, is that we need to encourage the police department to respond maybe a little bit more quickly, but also to do our due diligence in studying how we can actually make this ordinance better. And I think that's probably going to take some time. I would guess it would take us several months to do that, but that we would end up with an ordinance that really better reflects the state of the art at the moment. The other thing I want to say is that I think I've been involved in animal rescue and animal rehabilitation for so many years, and it is, as the chief says, a very complicated subject. You are dealing with people who, for the most part, are very responsible and who love their animals, who may not be behaving properly. And education goes such a long way to help that. I really, really would like to see part of our ordinance have an education component, and that's one of the things that I would be looking at to do a new ordinance. Just a word from a good trainer. Expandy leashes, the flexi leashes are a very good example of that. I mean, once a dog is beyond 4 to 6 feet from you, the dog loses its relation to you. So you're no longer really in control of that dog. The dog on an expandy leash 16 feet away from you is not the same dog that's walking by your side, and that's why we have dog parks and places where dogs can run free and have a good time. But a word from an animal behaviorist in a classroom type setting goes a really long way to help educate the owners of problem animals. And I think that's what we have in front of us right now and tonight is indications of problem animals that that really education would go a long way to helping.
Okay, I have another light on Alderman Holmes. Would you like to respond first, Alderman Burris, and then we can?
Yes, I would.
Alderman
Alderman Fisk, we've worked on this for 6 months. Revising the ordinance. The law department has looked at the ordinances from all over the country, here in Illinois as well, to put together an ordinance that is state-of-the-art, that is the best out there. And if you look, I'm sure that all of you read your packet this Friday with the Illinois Municipal League. In there was, I'm sure you read it as well, about the dangerous dog ordinance, what is the best out there in Illinois, so that they have come out with this. Alderman Grover, who I spoke with today about this, took the ordinance that I have proposed, went through the Illinois Municipal League, what they put together in their magazine this month, and it is, we are in compliance with what they say is the best out there, what we should be doing. So we've done a ton of research already on this, and Illinois Municipal League has done research on it as well, and we are in compliance with that as well. So I'm not sure this delay, we've been waiting to put this forth for a long time. We had a glitch on how to get it to this committee, but also the legal department worked with the animal warden and the police department to get feedback on it. They went back and forth for about a month to revise it. The police department also talked to other municipalities as well. So to say that we haven't done our due diligence is really disingenuous.
Alderman Holmes?
Well, I actually had a question for the chief in terms of the animal wardens, when they come out on a call for a dog, when they write a ticket, are they required then to come to administrative adjudication court on those tickets?
Yes, generally speaking, there are some issues that could be upgraded to a circuit court case, but the vast majority are administrative adjudication tickets.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, do they come to those court sessions? Do the animal wardens?
No.
They don't?
No.
Well, is that part of our issue of sort of enforcement and keeping track that maybe we'd have better knowledge of how many cases there are if, in fact, they showed up for those cases?
I think I understand the question and where you're going, but our current administrative adjudication is set up so that the ticket stands by itself, and there's several reasons for that. One, it cuts down on the personnel costs, so even if you get a cell phone ticket or a seatbelt ticket, the officer's not here either. The law department presents the city's case in those matters, and the information that's been requested tonight about the number of bites, the number of dangerous dogs, and I've also added the number of calls for dogs off leash and at large, we'll be able to provide that information to the committee. Okay. And if I could just pivot in another direction just for a second, 2 points. I understand the need for the police department to be more receptive and close the communication loop with the victims in these matters. I get that part. I think the second part is when we talk about education, I have this vision that I'm going to be standing at this podium in a few short months fighting for every nickel that I can, and my point being is that we have a unique relationship with CARE. These are really animal lovers that are more than willing to share their expertise with people, and so that would be a unique volunteer opportunity to push out educational programs and at the same time minimal to no cost for the city. But for us to assume additional duties at this time in the context of the coming discussions would be extremely difficult.
Where I'm really going with it, Chief, is I have a case in my ward. When we did a little research on it, found out that in this particular house where this dog lives, there had been numerous tickets written. And, but yet, calls kept coming in, and finally the dog did bite someone a few weeks back. So, I'm just wondering if, when we found out all these tickets have been written for a long, long time, what happens with all of that? And there's just no, I want to say no follow-up, that would have taken that problem away a long time ago. So that's why I'm trying to figure out, what is it? Is there something that we can do that could help eliminate that?
Alderman, if I might suggest, and I know Grant Farrar from our Corporation Council has looked at this, but in my opinion, one thing that would be effective across the board in all administrative adjudications where the person who's been issued a citation is not paying attention, if we have a default number of $100 or $110, send it to collection, I'm sure they'll pay attention next time. And I think that there's certain people that we've got to get attention-grabbing measures out there, and that's a perfect example. If we continue to ignore multiple citations and there's no consequence to ignoring it, I'm not surprised we're at that result. And I think there's issues under review. My personal favorite happens to be the collection route. There are other sanctions under review that might be more appropriate, but I know that we have to come to a decision about that because many departments in the city want to avail themselves to an expanded administrative adjudication process, both for the personnel savings of time, not having people go to court, and it being handled in-house, so to speak, by Evanston's community values rather than hoping we're on the docket out in Skokie.
Right. And the reason why I'm making this point is because I think when people say that they call and nothing happened, tickets do get written, and I that they get piled up, and so it's not that nothing happens. We're not getting the result that we need or we want, but tickets are being written for a lot of those cases, I believe. In fact, I can only speak to the one that I know about, but because people still see the dog there, they think nothing, has happened.
Well, and once again, this committee meeting focuses on the delivery of police services to the community in many ways. And one of my responsibilities is to listen to the complaints and see how we can adjust the services. I think if we're more transparent and explain what we've done or why it appears we've done nothing, sometimes that will help. At least everybody has full information on what we're doing. And I appreciate the frustration of multiple FOI requests. It's a very arduous task, and also unless you ask the question specifically, we sometimes talk past each other and not get to the information everybody wants.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Fisk, I know your light is on. Would you mind hearing from another citizen before we proceed? Karen Walkenberg?
Good evening. My name is Karen Wolkenberg. I am a citizen of Evanston, and I live on Kirk Street. I've had experiences with dog problems, both because I am a dog owner. I have a very large German Shepherd. I've always kept German Shepherds, and about a year or so ago, my husband was walking, and a pit bull got loose and tried to attack my husband and my dog literally saved my husband. He was bloodied. The police were called. My dog was coated in blood. My husband's pants were totally coated in blood. There was a police report, and the police referred it over to the animal warden. We were expecting a hearing. We were expecting that since my dog is property, was damaged, and my husband was scared out of his mind, we thought we'd be going to a hearing, but we weren't. Instead, the animal warden merely investigated and determined that there was no reason to do anything, and the parties themselves, meaning me and the owner of the pit bull, came to an understanding, and my expenses were paid. But I never had any opportunity to go before a tribunal such as this. I would like to contrast that with another matter in Evanston. A neighbor of mine liked to leave her garbage out. She received tickets. There was a hearing before the tribunal. The Department of Standards sent a person to report to the tribunal about the status of the garbage. And I gave my side, my neighbor gave their side, and the panel made a decision. All I'm saying with regard to dogs and dog ordinances is that there should be a full and fair hearing by the parties. Where there are two people involved, there should be an automatic hearing. And I think that the appropriate role for the animal warden would be to be the investigator for the city, as he's done so far, and to report to a panel like this. If we could do this for garbage tickets, we certainly should be able to do it for the other kind of property that we hold dearer to our hearts, which is for our animals. With regard to tickets, I agree with our animal warden that there should be a structured fee process. First ticket, 15, second ticket, 25, something to get people's attention, to cause them to comply. Tickets to be issued, of course they can appeal them to a tribunal. But the bottom line would be this. Where Evanston citizens' property is involved, I think due process kind of requires that we give an airing, a full and fair hearing to the parties who feel injured, and let the animal warden do the job he was hired to do, which is to investigate and report to the tribunal. As it stands today, the animal warden is both the investigator on behalf of the police and the judge, because it is only the animal warden that decides whether or not to issue a ticket or whether or not the altercation should be referred over for any kind of a hearing. In my case, when my husband's pants were bloodied, my dog was injured, I was very disappointed that there wasn't a third-party panel to go to. And I asked this tribunal to amend the ordinance to allow for a full hearing by any party that feels injured by a dog, and I agree with the animal warden that there should be a structured fee to get those repeat offenders to pay attention to the tickets and do something. To help, there's a group of us on the Kirk Street block. We've written amendment. We've modified the existing ordinance, given them to the appropriate parties. We'd be happy as a group to work with whomever this tribunal, you councilmen suggest, to come up with a better ordinance that's fair to all parties. But bottom line is this: it's sort of unconscionable to us as homeowners, as property owners of dogs whom we love, and as people who have been injured, not to have a place to bring our grievances. And so we ask you to amend the ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. Okawara, I'm sorry. You had a comment related to this
yeah, thank you. I won't
discussion.
take much of your time. I just wanted to back up what I said with the sources that I was using. I submitted Freedom of Information Act request to the city, and in the response which I got from the city for a list of all dangerous dogs from January 1st, 2007, January 1st, 2011, the city's response is that there has been no dogs in this time period designated as dangerous. So that, with all due respect, the chief of police alluded to the fact that there was one dangerous dog per year, and that's not the case. There may have been one recently, but there hasn't been one in the past 3-4 years, and I'll gladly give you this document. Secondly, I asked for dog-on-dog attacks. The city responded in a letter to me on March 18th that my Freedom of Information Act request was denied because the police department does not keep record of dog-on-dog attacks, period. I'll also give you this document. Now, the number I got just from looking at the city report, the chief of police's annual report, I tallied up all these numbers back to 2006. Going back from 2006, 7, 8, and 9, I didn't go to 2010, but there was 171 reports of dog bites, and you can look at the annual reports for that, and I can give you a copy of that as well.
Yeah, and I believe the chief did address the difference between a bite and the declaration of a dangerous animal, but thank you. Thank you. Alderman Fisk?
Thank you. Well, Alderman Burris, you may have been working on this for the past 6 months, but this is the first this committee has known about it. And it really, I think, is incumbent on you as a member of the council. And I'm happy that it's at the committee now because we can certainly discuss it. But this committee has spent a lot of time talking about animals, as I mentioned earlier. When we were discussing the feral cat problem in Northwest Evanston last year, in response to that, the police chief set up a humane advisory committee of citizens. And the purpose of the committee, everyone who had been through the police program, I can't remember the name of it. Yes, Citizens Police Academy, was invited to participate, send in their name if they were interested. A lot of people did, and I think that committee was established. I'm not sure whether that committee has actually met, but I think that's the appropriate place for amendments to the ordinance to begin discussion. These are, again, our experts are on our boards and commissions, the experts from CARE, the experts from various other organizations that are interested in serving on the committee is a good place to start. With all due respect, I don't think the IML is the be-all and end-all in terms of deciding what the state-of-the-art or animal ordinance for the state of Illinois is. And I just think we need to look a little bit further afield than that. The difficulty here, and again, I'm very sympathetic to this situation. It is something that we need, I think, to address in terms of police response, the animal warden response. But the definition of a dangerous dog is something very serious. And I do think that our ordinance, as it stands right now, does address that. But I would like to look at amending the ordinance sometime in the future, again, to bring it up to date with, the most current thinking. I would also like an opportunity, if we're going to move in this direction, for the committee to consult with animal behaviorists and others in the field who I know have been involved with the police department in consulting with them, but also who have years of experience of dealing with dangerous dogs. I have some very serious concerns with some of the language that's being inserted in here, and if we were going to continue and want to move this to council tonight, I would ask that we not do that, first of all, but I would ask that we look at a change in language, because I think we're actually crossing the line in some areas here to maybe come down harder than what we really intend to do on some dog owners, and maybe open up the definition of dangerous dog to dogs and dog owners who really don't deserve to be there. So I would ask the committee either to table this for the time being, to hold it over until we can get people to come, but not to move it to council at this moment.
Alderman Holmes?
Alderman Fisk, do you have particular people that you want to invite to come and speak to this issue?
Well, and I think we need to talk to the Chiefs Humane Advisory Committee needs to meet, and because this is the reason why they were invited to form the committee, was to address issues involving animals and our animal ordinance. That's why they're there. That's why they were invited to join that group, and they haven't been notified, as far as I know. I asked a couple of people who I think are serving on the committee, and they said that they had not heard anything about this. But we've got a process here to follow, and every other instance we do involve our boards and commissions, and here we've got a committee of experts in the field who are prepared and more than willing to help out, as the chief referred to, with the people at CARE. I think we need to hear from them whether they would be willing, and I'm sure that they would be willing to come and provide some information to us of, how they might be able to help with education. But I don't see that rushing this forward to council actually achieves anything positive at the moment. I think the ordinance that we've got on the books is adequate for the moment. I think we've sent the message to the chief that we need some better reporting.
Well, to me, that's two different. I mean, I'm just so I just need clarification. If you're asking that we hold it in committee until you get whoever it is, that experts, care people, whoever else that you want to come and present to the committee, then that's one thing. But in terms of that has nothing to do with whether we pass the ordinance or not. I mean, we just hold it in committee until we do that to meet that. If that's what you're asking, that's one thing. But if you're saying, you want to.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not sure where you're.
Yeah, I have a preference. My preference is for us to look at this ordinance, to take a step back, to look at the ordinance, to look at a wholesale revision of our animal ordinance, and that's going to take some time. Now, if we don't want to do that, and my feeling is that the ordinance that's on the books right now is adequate to give us some time to look at revisions and maybe a new writing of the animal ordinance.
I'd like to hear from Alderman Braithwaite. I mean, this is getting a little lengthy, and I'd like to wrap this up soon, but Alderman Braithwaite?
It was just a question for Alderman Fisk. I'm looking at page 2, section 2, where it defines a dangerous dog, and I'm trying to understand what part of this 6-part explanation do you have an issue with? As I look at it, it's the ordinance clearly spells out the expectation the definition of what's considered a dangerous dog, as well the expectation for owners.
That's already in the ordinance.
Okay.
The definition of dangerous dogs is already there.
So there's nothing you have an issue with?
No, that's already in the ordinance. It already defines dangerous dogs.
So then-
In Section 2, there's nothing changed other than 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are replaced by A, B, C, D, and E. So that's already, that protection,
Okay.
that definition is there. That's what I'm saying, is that I think what we have on the books right now really covers us. What the discussion and the concern from citizens right now is that they're not feeling comfortable with the response they're getting from the police department, and they feel that they need to have an opportunity to talk to either our committee or to someone about, as she referred to, a tribunal, and I'm not quite sure that we're the proper place for that. There's lots of police things that go on in Evanston that we're not the tribunal for. So
I'd like to call the question. But before I do so, I actually do think we should send this on to council. Previously, I'd felt uncomfortable with some of the my interpretation of the ordinance and its changes, but I don't think it really limits anything. I think in the time between now and its actual action in council, we can certainly modify it. It sounds like you have some ideas that would actually strengthen the ordinance. But at this point, I don't see any reason to delay it. It's summertime. Everyone's out. People are walking their dogs. It's a pretty critical time, and to say that this is going to somehow hinder, the process, I don't understand. I just think it is time to move it along, and if it can be made better in the process.
I'm really sorry. I really disagree with that. I think we have circumvented a committee that we established for exactly this reason. If we're not going to have this discussion in this committee, this discussion shouldn't be happening at council. That's what we have these committees for.
And when has this committee met?
And to have
the committee.
No, to have human services. We should, if we're going to say to the Humane Advisory Committee, it doesn't matter whether you meet or not. That was just something that we said at the time that has absolutely no reason for existence, then that's one thing. But to bring it to Human Services and then say, well, that's okay, we're just going to send this on to council because it's 8/16 and we don't want to talk about it anymore, is absolutely the wrong thing to do. We should be sending an ordinance that's well thought out and well written to council for action or no action. And
I think this is well written. I think it really just clarifies some things that are in the ordinance, and in the process, it certainly raises awareness in the community and with the police force that we are serious about this. And certainly other amendments can be made in the weeks to come before it is approved in council. I think to wait this summer would be a pretty dangerous period to do so, and I think we should move on with it. And this group, this committee, Humane Committee, I don't think has ever met, even when they were charged with looking into the feral cat situation.
No, they weren't charged with looking into the feral. It came as a result of the feral cat situation, so that we would have a committee of people who were going to look at issues affecting animals that came up. That's why it was created. The fact that there has been just one dangerous dog designated since that committee met is really not even responsive. I mean, the fact is that this committee is there to meet on issues exactly like this, and Alderman Burris, who makes such a great show of respecting our boards and commissions, is willing to go beyond this and say it doesn't matter whether this committee meets or not.
Yeah.
I think that's really wrong.
Wait, there is no committee. I think, Alderman Fisk, you're actually misinformed, and I would like the chief to address that. The committee doesn't exist. They actually send everything to CARE. There is no such committee. If you please have the chief address this, because I think you're just misinformed about it.
Okay, then I will be happy to read into the record the email that I have from the police department establishing, as a response to the city manager's request, the Humane Animal Advisory Committee. And if they haven't met, then that's a failure of the system. Just let me open my email here for a minute.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the issue regarding the email that Alderman Fisk is about to read was we solicited for volunteers. the turnout was rather low so as not to be viable. We have CARE in place, and we have been meeting consistently with CARE on a number of issues that include, as a matter of fact, Alderman Rainey, the city manager, the animal warden, the deputy chief of police operations have all been engaged in those meetings. We've had at least 2 of them now as we attempt to refine some issues at the animal shelter and also the interaction between CARE and the police department. And so we've basically, we have an existing group that can help us with that. And as a matter of fact, one of the huge issues on that is how we coordinate between CARE and the police department when we have those difficult animal issues like feral cats. I don't recall who was on the committee when we did feral cats the last time, but one of the huge issues is finding concerned parties or stakeholders that are willing to assume the number of cats we have when we have an animal hoarding situation. Impossible to socialize, very difficult to deal with, so we are looking to CARE as a partner, and they are looking to us to uphold our responsibilities to bring them into the process early on so they're there when the decision-making matrix starts. And that's the current state of where we're at right now.
Okay, the email is dated February 27th of last year. It was from Officer Lois Spells. Greetings, fellow CPA grads. Chief Eddington and City Manager Bobkowitz are looking for, quote, a few good men and women, unquote, to serve on the Chief's newly formed Humane Advisory Committee, which will address animal-related issues. If you're interested, please advise accordingly. Thanks for your time and consideration. I received a response from 6 people who volunteered to serve on that committee. I think that qualifies for a few good men and women, and I'm very, very disappointed to hear that committee did not move forward. That doesn't change my mind about if your decision is to move this ahead to council. I don't think it's appropriate to have this discussion hammering out an ordinance at council. I think that this is the appropriate place to do that. But if that's what you decide to do, then I have amendments to the ordinance that I would like to make.
I'd like to call the vote.
I have a question, a point of clarification. I'm going to ask again, Alderman Fisk, if she's asking to hold this in committee, because if she's asking to hold it in committee, I believe that we have to hold it in committee, one meeting. I think I'm looking for my council rules. I can't find them at the moment. But I thought that was, is that correct? So, I mean, it really takes the argument away. That's why I asked her in the beginning if she was asking it to be held. If it's going to be held, then we don't even need to discuss this.
Okay. If
not requesting that, then we can go ahead and call for the vote.
Then I will move to hold this in committee.
Thank you.
Takes away the conversation.
The ordinance will be held in committee, the next committee meeting being August 1st. Move on now to H3, Frank McGovern Memorial Golf Course parking changes during the Northwestern home football games. This is an extension of an existing policy that we've had for 2 years, and it's actually asking to grant the additional use of one of the holes for season ticket holders. Do I have a motion? Actually, this is not for just for approval or just for a recommendation?
Recommendation of extension of the policy.
Okay, so this is just a recommendation. Is there discussion? I favor I think that the golf course organization could certainly use the extra revenue. It has been a plan that's worked well. I think that most of the neighbors, from what I know from Alderman Grover, have been very supportive of it. The extension to open up another hole being the 18th or
10.
Okay, so it would ultimately be the 9th, 7th, 18th, plus the 10th hole. Would be strictly for season ticket holders, and I think that's a very controllable group. I think they know, certainly it adds to the possibility of selling tickets, and that is one of our city's goals, to keep the stadium alive and help them fill the seats and help them to generate revenue as we do at the same time. So I would support this and recommend that we move it to council with a recommendation to approve it if that's what it takes. I'm not quite sure. The extension of the policy.
Second, recommending moving on to council.
And this has the support of the
Golf Association, I mean, it came from,
Golf Association? You're supporting this?
You can speak, certainly.
The piece of this
Do we
that is...
have your name and
John
address,
Losasso, President of the Evanston Wilmette Golf Course Association. I live at 1405 Rosalie Street in Evanston, Illinois. The part of this that's new and different has to do with Northwestern's interest in having a specific location for groups that they basically have a good deal of leverage with to control and regulate. They also, as part of their request, which includes a request to the Golf Course Association, are undertaking a responsibility that we are not prepared to undertake in terms of providing the facilities attendant to the use of the 17th and 18th hole, providing the security that would be required for this particular special use, again, and that involves tailgating along with controlled use of alcohol at that location. And they also have committed to the full process of any restoration of or repair of damage that might occur if any of these events would take place during weather conditions that would result in disturbance of the area being used. We also believe that Northwestern has the ability to make good on that commitment. The additional revenue is helpful to us, and we find no objection to the proposal.
all right.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
All in favor?
I do not know.
It doesn't say. It's unknown as far as.
Okay, in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All in favor? Okay, 4-1, 4-0. Thank you. Items for discussion, update on citizen review of police complaints. Does anyone have any particular questions or concerns about the information provided? Hearing none, we'll move on to the communications. Actually were things submitted for possible discussion. The Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness, I know, have just started to meet and gather information, so a report from them is a little premature. We do not have information on the much for the Safe Summer Summit, but I think that's an important one to bring back at the next meeting and get a full report on the achievements of that program. Alderman Braithwaite?
Call for adjournment.
Do you have a second? Second. All those in favor? We are adjourned.